All right, guys, I wanted to make a video here about some DBQ strategies with the updated rubric for 2023. So if you're finding yourself running out of time while you're trying to write your DBQ, I'm going to give you some hacks that you can do to earn yourself still a full 7-point DBQ. Let's first look at some of the changes that they made for the rubric in 2023. One, accurately describes the content of at least 3 documents to address the topic of the prompt. And that's always been there, right? The 3 documents just describing the content. Then supports an argument in response to prompt using at least 4 documents. So as you see there, that's changed, right? It used to be 6, now it is down to 4. So that makes it a little bit easier. Then lastly, and for at least 2 documents, explain how or why the document's point of view purpose, basically doing the happy analysis, right? It used to be 3, and so now it's down to 2. And this is important. I'll get to it in a second, why that's so significant. But then, follow up, in the complexity, they've added 2 new things. Effectively using 7 documents to support an argument that responds to the prompt, or using 4 documents for happy that responds to the prompt. And that gets you a complexity point. And that's going to show us, give some opportunity for some hacks that we can do. But let's look at what I used to teach. So originally, right, you'd have your paragraph 1, which was contextualization, which was 3 sentences. Then your thesis, which was 1 sentence. Then you would use 6 documents, but I'd always say use 7 to be safe, just in case you messed it up, where you would describe the content of the doc and then tie it back to your thesis. So each of that was 2 sentences apiece. Then I would say pick 4 of those documents, like you have to do 3, but always do 4 just to be safe, to identify the happy, how you know it, and tie it back to your thesis. And so 2 sentences apiece for that as well. So 1 complete doc would be essentially 4 sentences, right? And so then lastly, you would have your outside evidence, and that would be 2 sentences. And we would talk about like different ways you could try to get complexity, try to make it more complex. We're not going to worry about that though. Now, this gives us option 1. And this is my suggested option. Option 1 is you do your contextualization and thesis still the same, opening paragraph. Then you're going to do for 4 documents, you're going to describe the content, tie it back to your thesis. Then you're going to identify a happy and how you know it, and then tie that back to your thesis, right? So that's 4 sentences total. And you're going to do that for 5 documents, right? So now you don't need, there's 2 of those documents you don't even need to use. You're going to do it for 5 documents, though, just to be safe, just in case you mess one of those up in there. And then don't forget your outside evidence. Now, I would even recommend considering putting your outside evidence actually in the very beginning so you don't forget it, right? And that's going to save you some time as well. If you find yourself writing, it's a free point and you don't want to miss out on that. So I would definitely consider putting it up towards the beginning so you don't forget it. But this right here gives you 5 documents and gives you all 7 points. The next option is option 2. Where if you find yourself you're not as good at happy, you have a hard time doing it, but identifying the topic of the document, but then also tying it to your thesis, that's a strength. Then same first paragraph. Then do that for all 7, right? Do that for all 7 documents. And then for 2 documents, you just identify happy. That's all you have to do it for. And tying it back to your thesis. Now I would say still do it for 3 just to be safe in case you mess one up. And then making sure you do your outside evidence as well. Now here's the kicker with this though, right? This method has a smaller margin of error for options for safety. Like for instance, if you mess up, you're tying it back to your thesis, or you incorrectly identify the content of the doc, you're not able to get that full complexity point, right? You'll miss it. Even if you just miss 1 document, you miss the whole complexity point. It is quicker though. Right, you can write way less with this, right? If you do the math, 14 sentences plus 4 more sentences, right? So you can write less with it, but there is a smaller margin of error. All right, so there's one last option here, and it is even more of a Hail Mary or last resort, right? Now what this can do though, this option 3 can get you a 6-point DBQ. And you can still earn a 5 on the exam with a 6-point DBQ. But if you are really finding yourself struggling with time and not being able to get enough time, I want to point out one other way. Right? Starting sentence, still the same. Contextualization, 3 sentences, thesis 1. So that's 2 points right off the bat. Then you get your outside evidence. Bam, that's your 3rd point. Right? Right away, you can get 3 points. Real easy. Then, for just 4 documents, you're going to describe the content and tie it back to the thesis, right? So those just 2 sentences apiece, so it's 8 sentences right there. And it's pretty simple, just those 4 documents. Now you can do 2 in one paragraph, 2 in the other, and then pick one of those documents in each of those paragraphs and do a happy analysis on it, right? And so you're going to, for 2 of those documents, you'll do the happy analysis, and then you call it a day, right? And so really, we have about 18 sentences or 3 paragraphs long, and you can get yourself a 6-point DBQ. Not too bad, not too shabby. Yeah, so I hope this helps you guys, and good luck on your DBQ.